Yes, we are live. We are back for AEW Double or Nothing, a post-show here at Wrestle News 365. It is the early hours of the morning, as is always the case with these AEW pay-per-views. They go very long. There are matches on there that probably don't need to be on there. You could certainly shave a lot of time off of these matches, no doubt about it. But let's get into it. Let's get into this show. Let's get into... First of all, overall thoughts, then we'll get to the main event and then kind of work from there. That's what we do here on the Wrestle News 365 post shows. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As you can see right there, we are currently at 21,957 subscribers. That means we're just 43 subscribers away from 22,000. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. You can also join the WN365 roster. Links in the video description below. You can also scan the QR code when it appears on the sidebar. Speaking of that sidebar, all upcoming watch-alongs and post shows, you can see them up there too. Right, overall thoughts on the show. Really enjoyed it. I must say, I really enjoyed AEW Double or Nothing. I thought that it was a show that I don't really have any concerns. Whenever you have AEW pay-per-view events, I don't really have many worries or concerns because they always deliver. Look, they always deliver. They're always top shows with top action, multiple real high-quality matches. Yeah, I think you can certainly have maybe frustrations about certain elements of them. Namely, my biggest issue always is that they just go very long. They go very, very long. This one was, like 4.5 hours in length? That's AEW pay-per-views. If you're not in it for the long haul, if you're looking for sort of a short-term show or a show not very long, you're just not going to get it. That is the case. So you kind of, at this stage of the game when it comes to AEW, you just kind of have to realize that that's just what it is. Yeah, that's just what it is with these shows. But overall, really enjoyable show. I thought both Owen Hart Cup matches absolutely delivered. One of the best opening matches in AEW pay-per-view history between Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter. An absolute high-quality, fantastic main event between Hangman Page and Will Ospreay. And in that as well, one of the matches I think that people were probably looking forward to the most, arguably maybe the match that people were looking forward to the most out of everything, was the main event, the Anarchy in the Arena, which, in my opinion, I think is the best Anarchy in the Arena match that they've done. And look, they've done some pretty crazy and mad Anarchy in the Arena bouts, sure. But for me, I thought that was one that absolutely delivered. So yes, if you haven't already, click the like button. We're currently close to 60 people watching, so if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well, as I mentioned, as we get closer to 22,000 subscribers. I'm just making sure that this is put up in the chat. Let me know your thoughts too on the pay-per-view overall. We can get your comments in, we can get your super chats in. If you put those in as well, we'll get them up on the screen. Just making sure that everything is all set up for you to do so we can get your comments up on the screen during this post show here at Wrestle News 365. There you go, that's what I was looking to do, and I'll just bring this over so you're all set up here as well. Let's begin with the main event. That's what we do here on these post shows, because some people will just be coming straight off it and they'll be like, let's talk about the main event, Paco 200 says one of the best wrestling shows of the year. Abdu says pay-per-view of the year, no question. So there's a lot of chat about this being a high-quality pay-per-view. Let's begin with that main event. Let's begin with the men's Owen Hart Foundation Cup final. We knew this was going to be the main event coming out of Dynamite last week, with Will Ospreay saying indeed it was going to main event the show. And you would think, look, it's mad to say that being the main event of one of AEW's biggest pay-per-views of the year, their anniversary show, if you will, because it was the first AEW event back in 2019. When I say it's a difficult spot to be in, you would probably scoff and go, what? The main event's a difficult spot to be in. But in this case, that is genuinely true, because the reason it's a difficult spot to be in is because it's a long show, as these AEW pay-per-views are. We've seen examples this year. Go to AEW Revolution, when it was a really good show with several high-profile, really good matches, and it got to the main event. Two of the most experienced guys on the roster in Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland, and the match was a dud. The match was a complete dud because the crowd was tired and the match wasn't that good. So this main event spot's not easy. It's not an easy spot to be in, and for a section of the match, I think it did kind of struggle with it was gonna go long, and also being long on a long show, crowd were a little bit tired at points. This was the longest match on the show by a little bit, which says a lot when the Anarchy and the Arena match goes over 35 minutes. This went 37, and to their credit in Hangman Page and Will Ospreay, they built, and they kept building, and building some more. And then with that, you got some really good near falls. You got the bit when they were doing a shootout in the desert, Buckshot versus Hidden Blade. Buckshot gets it, doesn't get the 1, 2, 3 though. Eventually hits the Hidden Blade. You had the callbacks of, you had Will Ospreay doing the Kenny Omega moves. You had Hangman Page doing the Swerve Strickland moves. He had everything, and eventually it leads. I mean, there was a real nasty spot actually on the outside of the ring where they went for a dead eye on the announce table, and the announce table collapsed, and you worried for a second that Will Ospreay had broken his neck. Yeah! There you go, I forgot that they do that. Big up, Steph. Big up, Steffi Jakes. There was a worry that was going to be the case. Eventually, Hangman gets the win with the Buckshot Lariat. And he's going on to AEW All in Texas. He's going to be in the main event of AEW All in Texas, July, against Jon Moxley. And I think it's really interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people said that this was a really difficult one to call. I thought it was going to be Will Ospreay was going to win, because for me, at this stage, I think Will Ospreay is being built up as like the baby face of the company. Look, he waves the AEW flag very high in all of the media that he does too. So I thought it was going to be Ospreay versus Mox. I mean, look, they've told a very long story, haven't they, with this sort of Hangman redemption. For 2 years, he's been a heel. The Swerve Strickland feud changed him into this different version of Hangman, and throughout the whole match, Hangman didn't really want to interact that much with the audience, and he's still playing the conflicted cowboy, etc., etc. But as we saw at the end of the match, look, it was Hangman shaking hands with Ospreay, showing him signs of respect. And now he's firmly the babyface in the match against Jon Moxley at All in Texas. Do I think Hangman's going to win? Do you know what? It does say to me, I think Moxley's going to retain at All in Texas. I mean, look, you could say, well, Hangman, the cowboy in Texas, AEW's first US stadium show, biggest show of the year. Isn't that all set up for Hangman to win? And yes, I suppose. But it makes me think more that maybe they legitimately are waiting for Darby Allin to come back. Maybe they're waiting for Darby Allin to come back. You know, now that Darby's climbed Mount Everest, he climbed literally to the top of the world, climbed his own mountain, literally, and now he's got to do it metaphorically for the title. There were all of those talks, weren't there, when Bryan Danielson was the world champion last year, that it was going to go to Danielson versus Darby, and that was going to be Danielson's retirement match, and both Washington natives. That's what it was going to be, and that didn't end up happening. And of course, Darby Allin then eventually at the end of the year went away to climb Mount Everest, which he's now done. So I still am leaning more towards maybe Darby's been earmarked to be the next champion. But now that Hangman's won this, I go, the cowboy in Texas, we're doing his redemption arc. I mean, that's a story that fits, that, he redeemed, and not only, redeemed himself, won the world championship, but he wrestled back the world championship from someone that's actively trying to sort of kill AEW at AEW's biggest event. Like, that story does work, and that story does make sense with that. So that's going to be a tough one, because I think in the same way that a lot of people went into this match going, look, it's really 50-50, and it's actually quite difficult to call who I think's going to win, and it was Hangman in the end, and I was pretty sure I thought Ospreay was going to win. I think that main event at All in Texas might be quite difficult to call as well. Now, considering the outrage and meltdown that was there when at Dynasty, at the last pay-per-view, Moxley retained over Swerve Strickland, I suppose if they dare do that again on the biggest stage possible, all in, stadium show against Hangman. Good grief, what would the reaction be there? So I've just convinced myself that maybe Hangman has to win, because if he doesn't, there will be quite considerable backlash. I don't know. But in terms of the quality of this one, top match, real strong main event. As many people say, the issues with AEW are not their pay-per-views. Their pay-per-views, 9 times out of 10, they deliver. There are fantastic matches. If you buy a ticket, it's not that expensive. You get value for money when you go there, because you get watch a lot of wrestling, and you watch a lot of good wrestling. The issue is in the television show week to week. The issue is in certain storytelling, use of talent, etc. How much of an alternative are you? How much of the unique identity do you have at certain points, and etc. etc. I mean, that's a different conversation for a different time. But this was a top main event for me, a 5-star main event, whatever that means. A top main event that rounded off a fantastic show. I really thought so. You saw earlier on with the little thing that pops up when there are super chats. Steffi Jenks, appreciate you. Moderator extraordinaire. Across all different channels, whether it's here, whether it's United View, always supporting, always in the chat, always around. Steffi Jenks, I really appreciate you. And whatever name I can put, a face to the name as well. Met all those years back at the UV party as well. So big up, Steffi Jenks, appreciate you. Goku says, Hangman versus John Moxley round 3. And Roshan says, it depends on the build and the long-term story arc. I would pick the Hangman over Moxley, suggesting that maybe it's going to be the arc is there. Well, I suppose it's basically like whose redemption or who's going to conquer. Is it best for the story if it's Hangman, because it's, again, redemption, and it's going from conflicted cowboy to angry, dark cowboy to, redeemed cowboy? Or is the better story Darby Allin going away, climbing the literal mountain, and then climbing the metaphorical mountain? But that also is about availability, and, they've put time into this Hangman one, even though, and with the Darby story, it's happened off television. Like, it's a story that everyone knows, but it's a story that hasn't played out on weekly TV. Is that also a problem for them? So I think that's a clearly decision to be made for AEW. And you would think, based off of this main event tonight, they've decided to go with that Hangman story. I think just the more I think about it, surely Moxley can't retain at all in Texas. If they went down that route, could you imagine? Could you imagine the pushback on that one? That would be pretty wild, wouldn't it, indeed? We've got over 70 people watching. We're currently at 18 likes. Let's see if we can get those likes up, folks. Let's see if we can get to 50 likes, maybe even more. We've got 85 people watching now. As you can see right there too, we're at 21,959. So that's 41 away from 22,000. The goal this year is to hit 25k. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. New subscribers, there should be a thing that pops up as well. It's just with your name on the screen to say that you've subscribed. So, appreciate everyone that's tuning in at the moment. Like I said, click the like button, get your super chats, and we get your comments up on the screen as well. So that was the main event of the show, was the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament. What opened the show was the women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament final, and that was Mercedes Moné versus Jamie Hayter. Now, this one, talking about the main event being a 5-star match, this, for me, is one of the best opening matches in recent AEW pay-per-view history. Look, usually with AEW, like I said, you get some fantastic matches, you get some great pay-per-views, etc. And you get some crowds that know what they're about to get when it comes to these AEW pay-per-views. But Mercedes Moné, still undefeated, defeats Jamie Hayter in a match that, again, was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Once again, you talk about positives and negatives. With Mercedes Moné in AEW, certainly there can be criticisms, and certain, whether it's promos, the character, whether it's Mercedes Hogan, she doesn't do jobs and she's undefeated and she carries around all these titles and she's being booked to win, etc., etc. I think there's certainly valid conversations that you can have. One thing that is undeniable is, in terms of in-ring performance for gosh, how long? For at least the last year or so, you would say. Mercedes Moné, between the ropes, absolutely delivers. I mean, Jamie Hayter, I'm the biggest Jamie Hayter fan. I felt that in her absence, the women's division in AEW really, really suffered. She, hits hard. She's, I think, a fantastic worker. I'm not sure I've been the biggest fan of the presentation post-injury. I preferred the presentation pre-injury. But I think this is Jamie Hayter's best match since she returned to All in London on the pre-show last year. And with Mercedes Moné here, she just continues to have brilliant matches, fantastic matches. Now, Moné winning was inevitable. She hasn't lost in AEW since she arrived. So I didn't expect her to do the job here. It would have been a pleasant surprise, I suppose. But, considering that AEW All In isn't in London this year and it's going to be in London next year, that's probably, if she enters the tournament again, Owen Hart Cup tournament, I think actually that would probably be the time for her to win. But again, this was a real top match, and it builds, of course, to All in Texas for the AEW Women's World Championship. I don't know if they're going to go title for title. As of right now, it's only for the AEW Women's World Championship. The finish in this one was quite weird because it came out of nowhere. I think it's meant to be a small package, or a big package in the case of Toni Storm. It was kind of like a hybrid where it was like a DDT small package, where it looked, I was really worried initially. I thought, oh my goodness, she's going to break her neck or something. If they can turn that into a move, because obviously the DDT was a move created by accident by Jake Roberts. Like, he'll openly say, I got someone in a front face lock and I fell over. And when I fell over, everyone just went, oh, that looks like a deadly move. And I thought, actually, I've got something there. And I think about that finish, as Mercedes actually stumbled on something via a botch. The botch was, I think it was meant to be, she won with a big package, same way that Toni Storm wins matches. But instead it was like a big package DDT. And if they can figure that out, then that could be a heck of a finish, because that looked absolutely deadly. You got to be able to do it safely, of course. But Mercedes is going to be challenging for the AEW Women's World Championship All in Texas. That was very clearly the direction, because even since the tournament began, they've been doing stare downs, haven't they, between Mercedes and Timeless Toni Storm, or episodes of Dynamite and Collision where Storm has been appearing in the balconies and they've been staring at each other. So that, it was very obvious that this was going to be the outcome. But I think that's the sign of a good match, is that probably what the outcome's going to be, but at different points, you bite on the false finishes and you go, oh, actually, maybe they're going to surprise me here. That's watching what a wrestling match is about. So, I thought this was a brilliant opener and really, really well done. Next up was a tag team match involving FTR defeating the team of Nigel McGuinness and Daniel Garcia. Now, this is where I will get into some criticisms of this show, which I did think was very good. This match went 22 minutes, 30 seconds. It really had no business going that long. I don't know why the match went this long. I really don't, because why on earth it went anything longer than, say, 15 minutes? I mean, you could shave at least sort of 7 odd minutes off this match. I don't really get why. The finish, basically, look, FTR worked over Nigel McGuinness for a long time. Outside of the ring, they hit a shatter machine on McGuinness. And, he could barely get back to his feet, and he was beat up really, really bad. Tony Schiavone was there trying to help him out and what have you. And because McGuinness couldn't get back to his feet, when Daniel Garcia was locked in the sharpshooter, or, whatever it's called, Dragon Tamer, that's it. He couldn't help him effectively. And that was to finish FTR win. I could have sworn when they were building it and Tony Schiavone was there helping him and McGuinness was getting beaten up, I thought, oh, they're going to do a thing post-match where they tried to attack Schiavone, or they're attacking McGuinness, and Cope comes out, and this is how Adam Copeland returns to AEW television for the first time since Dynasty. That didn't happen. So, again, I just kind of looked at it when, as a match, it was fine, but it just did not need to be. That match Nope, 22 minutes, 30 seconds. There was really no need for that match to be that long. You could have shaved a lot of time off that match. As far as what it means next, clearly we're getting FTR versus Cope and a partner. The likelihood is it's probably Cope and Christian Cage. How they get there, I don't know. What it means for Nigel McGuinness, maybe we're going towards Nigel McGuinness versus Daniel Garcia. Maybe Garcia turns heel because he's like, you didn't help me, you should have helped me. Instead, you're writhing around on the floor. So, Garcia versus McGuinness. They've been trying to do a sort of, teacher and student kind of vibe there. Two technical wrestlers. I could see them maybe doing something like that. Maybe all in Texas, perhaps. So that's, I think, maybe the seeds they were trying to plant for this. But as I said, it just didn't need to be the length that it was. It really, really didn't. Next up, we had the stretcher match where Ricochet defeated Mark Briscoe. Now, I'll tell you what, this match was a lot of fun. 16 minutes long. I think perfect length. It was an odd one because it was a match that largely, like there's two halves of this. The first half of this match was almost comical, some big spots and some enjoyable spots, but the bold jokes and Mark Briscoe's cleaning Ricochet's bald head and shining it up, and you go, oh, this is nice. This is fun. This is a gimmick match. This is a nice gimmick, and you've got to put them on the stretcher, put them in the back of the ambulance. Oh, this is fun. A second half of it is this brutal, bloody, and violent match that you kind of have to catch yourself and go, oh yeah. This is really violent. Of course, this match is going to be really violent because it's a stretch. Yeah, I'm putting my opponent on a stretch. I'm putting him in an ambulance. I can't put him in the back of an ambulance. This is fun. I just put him in the back of an ambulance. I suppose it's got to be violent. So Mark Briscoe got color in this. Good grief, did he get color? I mean, they did a spot where he bounced his head off the metal part of the stretcher. Ricochet took the padding off, bounced his head off it a couple of times, and he was, you're seeing in the images as we go through this, he was absolutely gushing with blood at different points. We see everything. We see scissors, multiple pairs of scissors from under the ring, scissors from inside the ambulance, and piles of blood in this one, and Ricochet eventually gets the win by putting him in the back of the vehicle. Like I said, I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a real fun match. I'm a big Mark Briscoe fan, as I mentioned during the watch along. I think that he can be AEW's version of a Mick Foley-esque character. I really like his promos. Actually, I think Mark Briscoe is a real fun promo. And I've actually really enjoyed his single stuff in AEW. Obviously does the cactus elbow off the ring apron. Ricochet, in terms of his heel work, clearly the heel work's been better than the babyface stuff. I still don't. He still can't cut a promo really for me. Would I give him a mouthpiece, or is the idea that some of his promos are so bad and aggravating that he's just better as a heel? I think that's probably the route they've kind of gone down. It looks like Ricochet is having fun, and he's unbelievable in the ring with some of the stuff he's able to do. So in terms of match, like I said, really thoroughly enjoyed it. As for what's next for Ricochet, I'm not sure. What's next for Mark Briscoe? I mean, he got involved, of course, in the Anarchy in the Arena match, which we'll talk about later on. So I don't know if now he's going to be involved with the Death Riders and the fallout of the Anarchy in the Arena match. We'll have to wait and see. But Ricochet, he's victorious, and he defeats Mark Briscoe in this ambulance match. Next up, we had the AEW World Tag Team titles on the line. The Hurt Syndicate defeating the Sons of Texas in a match that went just over 12 minutes. Didn't need to go any longer than that. That was the right time for it. The whole purpose of this is to tease, what does this new Hurt Syndicate look like with MJF at ringside, and MVP was on commentary, but MJF's ringside, what's that going to look like? And is there going to be chicanery, or are they going to get on? Are they all on the same page? And it looks like at different points they're not on the same page. And MJF, after watching the match for a little while, he's like, right, guys, we're taking too long. Let's just finish it. Let's get him. Let's just do it. He's telling Bobby Lashley, use the Dynamite Diamond ring. And Lashley's going, no, I don't want to use the Dynamite Diamond ring, and this, that, and the other. And I guess then we get to a point where you go, oh, it's all a ruse. He's getting involved there. You can see with Dustin Rhodes, and it looks like Lashley's going to be annoyed with MJF of, why are you getting involved? Why are you doing this? There's this argument. He's like, you can see there, he said, no, don't get involved. What are you doing? And then they smile because it was all part of a plan, I guess, for Bobby Lashley to spear Dustin Rhodes through the barricade, and it leads to Shelton Benjamin in the ring, pinning Sammy Guevara and getting the win. It was fine. You know, I've enjoyed the Hurt Syndicate segments on AEW TV. I mean, MJF never plays well with others, so I still say it's, you know, someone's turning on someone eventually. I suppose it's just how long they want to sort of drag the story out for. It's only just begun, so there's still plenty of time to go. Dustin Rhodes, look, I've got a huge amount of respect for Dustin Rhodes. Look, he's wrestling in his closing mid-50s. He's 56 years old. He's just turned 56 about a month or so ago. And he's wrestled in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, now the 2020s. Yeah, it's incredibly impressive. I do think he wasn't moving around the ring great for me. I think it's quite obvious. Jeff Jarrett said it on the buy-in pre-show that he's got a bad knee. It looked like it. It really did look like it. So yeah, it wasn't the best watch. But the MJF stuff with the Hurt Syndicate's always good segments. Next up, we had a Continental Championship match. Kazuchika Okada defeating Speedball Mike Bailey, and this one for a long time looked like it was just going to be sort of typical Okada in AEW, which I think, you know, you could say of Okada, is he phoning it in, and he doesn't do that much, and I thought we were going to get New Japan Okada, and what's this version of Okada that we're getting? And you do see that sometimes in his matches where he doesn't do that much. He kind of just does the aura stuff and does some spots and does the middle finger, says bitch, and that's about it. But one thing's for certain, Speedball Mike Bailey got it out of Okada tonight. It was difficult to get out for a while, but he got it out of Okada. And what I really liked about this match is the finish. So often, and this isn't just an AEW thing, this is just across modern day wrestling, you have a nice finish and people bite on the finish and it's actually just a false finish and they kick out, and then there's 10 more false finishes. I just like one good finish where it's just a great counter into a finishing move, 1, 2, 3. That's what we saw in this one, where Mike Bailey goes to the top rope. He's going for like a shooting star. Okada, one of the best drop kicks in the game, hits the drop kick. Crowd pops. Rainmaker, 1, 2, 3. Crowd like the finish because it does. Because every match, you're going to have chaos on this show with all of the different matches that you've got. So you don't need to have a million false finishes. You can just have a good match. Just have a good title match. We'll have a nice counter into a finish, 1, 2, 3. That's all the show needs. That's all this needs. And that's exactly it. So Okada retains. You knew he was going to retain because, of course, he's going to face Kenny Omega at All in Texas, title for title. But this was a good pay-per-view match and a good defense for Kazuchika Okada. And one of his better matches, I think, that he's had in AEW. But I think people should probably look at, you know, Speedball. Oh, right, you've got to get something out of Okada. If you're going to have these matches with him on paper, you've got to make him work. If you can make him work, then you're going to have a good match. Next up, we had Timeless Toni Storm defeating Mina Shirakawa to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. I mean, probably not too much to discuss about this. I mean, I suppose the difficult thing is with the Toni Storm matches, they're just going to pale in comparison to the feud that she had with Mariah May. I really enjoyed the match she had against Megan Bayne at AEW Dynasty. I thought that was really well done. I don't think this was as good as that. Mina Shirakawa is popular with the audience, no doubt. But this, again, is one of those ones where it was put in a bit of a difficult position because it was pre-Anarchy in the arena, and I think there was a lot of anticipation for that. And also, when earlier on the show, Mercedes Moné has won, and they've already showed up the graphic of it's going to be Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm, then everyone kind of knows the outcome of that, and that's kind of what we saw. So, you know, there's a couple of near falls here and there, but Toni Storm gets the victory. She retains. Post-match, they're still friends, and they kissed, which got a pop from the crowds. But the main thing is that it's going to be Toni Storm versus Mercedes Moné taking place at AEW All in Texas. Next, we had Anarchy in the arena. I could continue talking for 20, 30, 40, 45 minutes about this match and about everything that happened in this match, and I would do it disservice, yeah? Whether it's the Young Bucks coming out as the Founding Fathers and that theme playing over and over, because of course it's like a thing, isn't it, in the Anarchy and the arena matches, that there's a song that plays over and over again. Whether it's, I think it was Violent Idol singing Wild Thing over and over, whether it's Bryan Danielson's theme playing over and over, there's always something that plays over and over. And you thought, oh, is it going to be this Founding Fathers theme that plays over and over? Really, is that going to be the theme that plays over and over? Really? And then Kenny Omega's going, I don't want this, turn it off, play something else. And I'm so excited plays. Of course, that was the theme song for AEW Dynamite at the beginning of this year, and it got changed after 1 week. It got panned. I can't believe they're putting this, but no, that doesn't work. No, that doesn't work. So Kenny Omega said, nope, I can't have this. He goes, it's a nice song, but I can't have this. He says, if you like 2000s alternative rock, which I was like, that's me, I'll have that, then you might know the words to this one. And it was Drowning Pool, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. And I mean, if there was a song that was made for a match, it is this. Because Anarchy in the Arena is just that. It is a complete clusterfuck. That's what it is. It is everyone's fighting everywhere. Anything goes. Weapons, violence. They're brawling in and around the arena, outside of the arena. You know, that's what it is. It's pure chaos. So Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. It was just perfect. And having that playing on a loop over and over and over again, it just worked. It worked. If anything, I was worried about when the music stopped, if it was going to continue to have that kind of atmosphere. I think there might be something in just having a match where just the song just plays all the way through. New Jack settings. I mean, it just worked. It just absolutely worked. It was brilliant. And like I said, I could go into specific spots about it all, but I would probably be doing a complete disservice. For me, I think huge credit has to go to the AEW production team, because AEW can get criticized for their production because maybe it's not as slick as WWE, which I think is fair, and sometimes it's not the best in technical issues, but from a production point of view, that match is probably hell to produce. Honestly, hell to produce. All of the different cameras you need and all of the different locations, all of the different producers to know what's going to happen when, the director to go between the different shots. All right, okay, what's coming up next? And the agent to go, right, the next spot is they're going to be here, so you need to go to this camera. Okay, right, and then what we're going to after that? Right, they're going to be doing this spot, so you're going to have to make sure there's a camera there to do that at this spot because they're going to be backstage. All right, well, okay, we'll follow them. Like, that is not easy. The level of production and the level of planning that would have to go into a match like this, just thinking about it from a production perspective, is not easy at all. So huge hat tip to them, because I can just only imagine the conversations and the meetings they have to do to put that together. In terms of the talent, in my opinion, look, there's been quite a few Anarchy in the Arena matches now, and they do stem from the Stadium Stampede matches at Double or Nothing in 2020 and 2021 in Jacksonville. For me, and look, it might be a recency bias, but for me, my feeling was that that's the best Anarchy in the Arena match that they've done. It had everything you can possibly think of. Table, thumbtacks. Obviously, I think the music, the atmosphere, the spots, just everything. It just worked. Everything worked. Obviously, Gabe Kidd got involved, and they didn't really pay that off. I thought that the Gabe Kidd involvement was maybe because Eddie Kingston was going to come back. Instead, it was just Mark Briscoe showed up, and I don't know. I something in me feels like maybe at one point there was a plan for that to be Eddie Kingston, and then it was, as we got closer, they just realized that physically he wasn't going to be able to do that, or he wasn't cleared. I'm not sure. That's what it kind of felt like at one point. But instead, I said Mark Briscoe gets involved, and they tie back to the ambulance match earlier on in the evening, which was more ambulance, the stretcher match. That was one of my criticisms, was that stretcher match was a bit too violent in a show which you also have Anarchy in the Arena, and did it kind of take away a little bit? Should you kind of save the violence for that one violent match? But they actually utilized the ambulance there by locking the Death Riders in there. It left the Young Bucks in the ring with everyone else. They had Swerve and Omega hit their moves. There was an exploding table, spot One-Winged Angel off the stage. Swerve, as I mentioned, he hits a swerve stomp with thumbtacks onto one of the Young Bucks and gets the win. I just, it might not be a match for everyone because they might not like that level of chaos, but I think it's exactly what was promised. And I think that when you talk about AEW to have an identity and to be a legitimate alternative, have stuff that's unique to them, which is difficult in pro wrestling because, let's face it, everything's been done. This match type being unique to them, I think they deliver on it. They deliver. I can't think of other promotions that have, that every year, that match with the music, with the whatever, it's completely unique. And I think it's a real great staple that AEW have. And I look forward to it every year because it's like, oh, what are they going to do this year? How are they going to top last year? What are they going to do this time? And what's the music going to be? And there's all of these different parts of it. And I just thought it was done really, really well. It really was. And then the only problem was you had to follow it. And you had to follow it with this trios match that, to be honest, didn't need to be on the show. This is a Collision main event, a Dynamite match. And I think it was very much there as a palate cleanser just before the main event. But the main event went really long, so I don't even know if the main event actually needed it, because with the amount of time they took building that main event into the crescendo, I don't, like I said, I don't actually think they needed this. So it was largely pointless unless the plan was to get Hiroshi Tanahashi out there, because the Don Callis family win the match. They get the victory. But then post-match, you have Hiroshi Tanahashi come out. I must say, when it comes to Tanahashi, he is moving really rough. I mean, his knees have been shot for many a year. And obviously, he's retiring at the beginning of this coming year. Is the Wrestle Kingdom at the beginning of 2026 will be his last match. And you can tell, like, he's struggling walking on those knees. Those knees are in bad shape. Obviously, legend, president of New Japan, and I suppose, plant seeds for Forbidden Door coming up in August, which will be taking place in London. But even that, I'm going, that's got to be a multi-man match, because Tanahashi at this stage, with the condition physically that he's in, I'm not sure what that match would look like. And then, of course, as I said, we got to the main event, which we've spoken about in depth, with Hangman Adam Page winning the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. So there you go. That was AEW Double or Nothing, guys. As I've said, fantastic pay-per-view. I think in terms of the AEW pay-per-views this year, so that's what, Revolution, Dynasty, and now this. For me, this would probably be the best. This was the best AEW pay-per-view of the year so far. If I had to rank them, what would I go with? I mean, I thought Revolution was a good show outside of a really bad main event. Dynasty, Dynasty. I would probably go with Dynasty, Revolution, and then this. But I think Double or Nothing kind of blows them both away, to be honest. I think that's most likely the case. So let me know your thoughts. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you're watching after the fact. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Your opinions on the pay-per-view. We'll be back with more news videos, more top 5 videos, and more streams, of course, coming up. What have we got? We've got Money in the Bank coming up at the beginning of June. In addition to that, we've got WWE and AAA Worlds Collide on the very same day. Later on in June, what else will we have? Actually, beginning of July, of course, we'll have All in Texas. We'll have AEW Week. That weekend as well is like Evolution too, and there's everything. There's so much going on in July and the summer. It's going to be a madness. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, click the notifications. You'll be notified when we go live or a new video is uploaded. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.